Like, tell me you didn't go with them. They're trying to get you to join their Korean cult. Hey guys, it's Jessica and welcome back to my channel. So today, Alright, so today I'm going to be doing a little story time about my encounter with the Korean cult. Yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing, but apparently it is, and it's pretty common. So I actually wasn't even sure if I wanted to film this video or share this with too many people really, but I figured, you know, might as well to kind of get the word out so that if any of you are going to Korea anytime soon, you know what to look out for and what to avoid, because nobody ever told me that the Korean cult was a thing and that they approach people and foreigners especially. So yeah, all right, let's get started. Last year around October-ish, I decided to kind of go on another solo trip, this time to Japan and Korea. And you guys might have noticed that, you know, I uploaded a few fun little Japan vlogs, but, you know, I just never uploaded any Korea vlogs, and there was a reason. All right, let's start from the beginning. So after I'd spent about 5 days in Japan, I took a plane over to Seoul, and I was planning on spending about 2 to 3 days there, just kind of exploring. And I think this was maybe my first full day in Seoul. I was walking around the Hongdae district, which is like super hip, super cool, lots of shopping, you know, just tons of things to do, tons of people, especially in such a highly populated area. You wouldn't really think that it was dangerous or anything. So I was just walking, minding my own business, when I was approached by two people. They're pretty young. I assumed they're probably in their like early 20s, 21, 22. One girl, one guy. And they were asking me for directions, which is weird because I obviously don't look like I'm from the area. So they asked me if I knew where the park was, but when I, you know, told them I didn't know, they kept trying to ask me more questions, and I didn't really think too much of it. I just thought, oh, you know, maybe they're just like university students who like want to practice their English. I really wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt. They were probably just trying to be friendly. And then they started asking more and more questions like, oh, how long have you been here? You know, what's your name? Are you by yourself? And when they asked me if I was by myself, that was like super sus already. And at that point, I knew something was kind of weird. And, you know, maybe this is just from the perspective of, you know, I'm a solo female traveler. I have to make sure I have my guard up. But at that point, I was super aware of my surroundings, just wanted to make sure that there was nothing weird going on around me. And then I took my backpack and I put it to my front and just like held onto it really tight. Just cause, you know, what if these people were trying to distract me while somebody pickpocketed me? I don't know. I was just trying to be cautious. After they asked me if I was by myself, they started asking me other questions like, oh, do you like K-pop? Do you like soju? And I just tried to give them as little information as possible, just extremely like short answers, but at the same time I tried to be really respectful because I was in another country. I didn't want to seem rude or anything, but then they were super persistent, and then they started asking me like, oh, do you like Korean culture? And it's just like, what? And then they insisted that I like follow them back to their studio. They were like, oh, we're students who like to teach foreigners about Korean culture, and why don't you come back with us and we'll cut fruit. And, you know, at that point I was just like, okay, this is weird. You know, I said thank you, but no thank you, like I need to go. And then they got even more persistent and they were just like, are you scared? Like, you have nothing to be scared about. I was just like, ooh, whoa. I do have something to be scared about. Yeah, and they're like, oh, you have nothing to be scared about. This isn't like America. Korea's really safe. You could just come with us. You know, our studio's right off the station. There's CCTV everywhere. And I think CCTV is like some sort of like video surveillance system. I'm not entirely sure. And at that point I was just like, no. And they're like, you know, I know that it might be weird following a stranger, but Korea's really safe. It's not like America. And I was like, whoa. Alright, this is kind of sus. I like really need to get out of here. I was just kind of scared. And at that point, I just said, you know, thanks, no thanks, I really have to go. Before they could say anything else, I just kind of darted off into the crowd. Just kind of wanted to get out of the area. I was really paranoid that maybe I was being followed. I think that was probably the scariest part. If, you know, they did know I was traveling alone, like what could they have done? And at this point, I didn't know what had happened. All I knew were that these two people who were extremely persistent were trying to get me to go somewhere with them, and it just seemed really suspicious. I didn't know they were the cults or some sort of Korean cults. At that point, I was on the subway. I messaged my friend Louisa, who lives in Seoul, and I was just kind of like, hey Louisa, something weird just happened. Like, am I being super paranoid? Is this nothing? And I kind of described to her the situation with, you know, these two people who were extremely persistent, trying to get me to go with them, asking me all these questions. And at that moment, Louisa messaged me back so freaking fast, and she was just like, oh my gosh, tell me you didn't go with them. They're trying to get you to join their Korean cults. And I was like, what? So the next day I met up with her, and she kind of filled me in, and apparently this is something that happens pretty often in Korea, but it's relatively new that they approach foreigners, you know. And she said like they do some weird things. There's lots of like scams and just, I don't know, there's a lot that I don't understand. So I researched this a little bit more, and I guess it does happen pretty often. And more recently they've been approaching foreigners, trying to solicit you and trying to get you to come with them, which is strange. I actually, you know, I don't know what happens if you follow them, but yeah, it was just really weird, kind of scary. And I may be overreacting. I've traveled alone here and there, both in the US and internationally, but that was kind of the first time where I felt scared. It caught me off guard. I didn't really expect it. And, you know, if they were bad people and they had really bad intentions and they knew that I was on my own, I think that could have ended really badly if I wasn't so suspicious naturally, like a naturally suspicious person. After that encounter, I actually just, you know, I didn't really want to vlog the rest of the trip. I guess I just didn't really, like, this might sound weird, but I like didn't want to have a camera out. I didn't want to draw any unnecessary attention to myself, just because I felt really self-conscious. Like, I don't know, it was but yeah, so that is my little story time. I think I just really wanted to share this story with you guys. First off, because obviously there are no Korea vlogs, and, you know, I was really looking forward to having those also, and I feel kind of bad because I know a few of you guys mentioned that you were looking forward to seeing them. But also, I just want to make sure that if any of you all are planning on going to Korea, that you are aware that this is the thing that happens. Because honestly, these people, like, they didn't seem scammy, they didn't seem dangerous when they first approached me. They just looked like normal, like, university students, like very innocent, very like kind looking, like. And it wasn't until I started showing a little bit of opposition that they were really persistent and pushy. Originally they were super kind, and they didn't seem like they had any bad intentions, and I think that's the scariest thing. I don't know, it's not something that I was aware of. So I wanted to share my story so that you guys are aware of it. In hindsight, it's kind of funny, but I think what was off-putting was the fact that, you know, I was traveling by myself, and their like tactics or the way they spoke to you and like tried to get you to come with them, it reminded me a lot of like this article that I read about sex trafficking here in the US, where, you know, people come up to you in pairs and make conversation, they're super unassuming. But anyways, I'm safe. Korea's still a super fun place. I had an amazing time. I got to go to some super cute cafes and ate some amazing food, and I got to hang out with my cool friend Louisa. Shout out to Louisa, I miss you. A little life update, but I haven't really had the chance to post a lot of YouTube videos, but I really miss making them. Yeah, so back in January, I actually just like packed up my entire life in San Diego, and I moved back to the Bay Area because this is where my family's from, but it's been a little bit hard adjusting I'm about 9 months in and I finally am feeling good, finally feeling a little more at home here. So hopefully I have some fun videos coming up. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.